All right, so I'm going to read off some questions that I've recently been asked. How many kids or pets do I have? I have 2 kids and 2 pets. I've got a daughter named Kinley, who is in 2nd grade, and my son Ledger just turned 3. And we have 2 cats named Jackson and Zoe. And while we would love to get a dog, at the same time we have 2 cats, and kind of adding that another layer in there is probably something that we'll do down the road, but that's kind of our family dynamic. And my poor wife has to take care of all of us. What is my go-to snack when I'm in the office? For the most part, I don't really eat a ton during the day. I'm notorious for letting breakfast slip through to a late lunch. But I do really like cereal. So, I do keep a lot of cereal on hand. And I'm not talking about like the healthy cereal. Like I like, some Cocoa Puffs and some Lucky Charms. So I'd like to say I snack on that here and there. And maybe some pretzels is kind of my go-to snack. All right, so another question that I have here are, what are some mistakes that buyers make in regards to credit? When you're working with a reputable lender, and getting ready to go through the process of being pre-approved, the lender is going to go ahead and give you a long list of things in regards to not due during the home buying process. One of the things that we see most often is that we've already moved in the home that we've chosen in our heads. So we want to get a jump start on maybe getting some furniture or a new car or anything like that. And that requires maybe extending our credit a little bit more. Hold off as long as you can. It's great to have that vision board and what you really want, but just pull the trigger on getting any new 0 APR cards for after you're done. So then that way it's not going to affect your current loan terms, and then you can go buck nutty afterwards. Okay, I've got another question here. Is the only time to sell a home in the springtime and summertime? Well, as we've seen over the last few years, the way that we buy and sell real estate is completely changed. It used to be traditionally that we had, more often than not, more homes come on the market in the spring and in the summer. And that definitely rings true. More so because more kids are in school and they don't want to have any of that disruption. But the same way that I don't work on the weekend in the way I used to, and actually am showing homes to clients during the week, is just another way that we've actually changed the way that we buy real estate. So there might not be as much inventory maybe in the winter months, but the demand is still going to be there, because if there's some specific pain point that's happening that a buyer needs to move, is the same way that seller needs to move. Got a question here on tips on decluttering and temporarily getting some space and sanity back. So this is one that in my household I try to actually implement. Is it doesn't really feel as though bringing in the stuff was that exhausting, but somehow when we're getting rid of it, all of a sudden we're like, how did we get all this stuff? So I recommend, when you are as a homeowner, looking to get rid of stuff, take a look at it and say, have I opened this up? Do I really need this stuff? And actually get it off your plate and give yourself some of this mental room as well as physical room. So then that way, when you're actually deciding to really stage and do all your last minute decluttering, it's not as overwhelming because you've been intermittently doing that throughout your tenure at your home. All right, another question is, do I get uncomfortable or like shooting video? Well, the answer is really, I don't really love shooting video, because who really wants to be in front of the camera? But I think that it's just something that I've really gotten used to over the course of the last, 4 or 5 years of doing it. I look at it from a standpoint of really trying to educate everybody out there in some way, shape, or form. Whether I've met you or haven't met anybody, it doesn't really matter to me. If I can put a little bit more good in the world, then great. At the same time too, I want to showcase to, my kids that, it's okay to do something that might make you a little bit nervous. And taking the long way around might not be the always the best way, and actually just doing something that gets you a little bit more uncomfortable might be the best way to do it. So yeah, I'll never get used to it, but here we are. All right, another question here is, what recommendation would I make for a homeowner to do to get their home ready to sell? Well, one of the things I would actually tell anybody that's looking to buy a home, and going back all the way at the present time of when you're looking to buy that home and all the different things that you had as far as changing paint color or flooring or bathrooms or whatever it is don't wait to do it. The reason I bring that up is because when I go in and I start working with a seller in regards to getting their home ready to sell, and we might be doing all these things, the one thing that always comes back and is always said is, I wish I would have done this sooner. So while there's a ton that you can do to get prepped and ready to go ahead and sell, I recommend doing those things as soon as you walk in the door when you purchase, so that way you can really enjoy the fruits. All right, another question is something someone would be surprised to learn about me. I would probably definitely say that, I'm a big Star Wars guy. I love Star Wars, for whatever reason. When I watch it, it just takes me back to like being a kid and actually immersing myself in this completely different universe. I know I'm kind of fan geeking out. If I had to pick and choose my favorites, definitely going to be Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that's definitely one of the best movies out there in general. But I mean, on the outside, I probably might not look like your prototypical Star Wars guy, but on the inside, I'm just as bad as nerdy as they come. All right, I got another question here is, what clients don't ask me, but they should ask? Well, really taking a look at that is exactly of really understanding why you're actually in this business, right? No one really at birth decides that they want to become a real estate agent or if they want to be in real estate. The reason that I'm in it and the reason that I love doing what I do is because it actually has an impact on someone else's life for the better. Whether or not they're relocating, whether or not they're buying their first home, whether or not they're raising their family in a completely different area that they're not familiar with. And so while all those different things seem super cliche, I think that's really kind of understanding and asking those questions of like knowing your why. Ask the person across from you why they do that job. And I tell everybody, the moment this starts to feel like work, I won't do it anymore. And it's just because I have a passion for people and a passion for, helping others. And that's one of the things I think that you should be asking the person across from you. All right, another question is, you're in homes all the time. What is something that you want to have in your next home? Well, I live in a really older home that was built in the mid-70s. It's everything I didn't really necessarily thought I wanted in a home, but it definitely makes me feel it's my sanctuary and I love being there. One of the things that we actually don't have there is a formal office. So having a formal office for, Sarah to work at home or for me to work at home and just a quiet space to work would definitely be something that would be on my list, as well as actually having a very large basement area with a finished bathroom too, and maybe even a guest room. So that way kids can go downstairs and sequester themselves, something that we don't really necessarily have, but it's definitely something I would really want in a home for me moving forward.